situation. Can he get in? No, he cannot.
I said it, we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
Welcome to Gold Line Stand. As always, it's Michael Washington here. Not as always, I should say, because I did miss a couple weeks there. But I'm with Justin, of course, as my co-host as well. Two-man panel to start off with, as it was last week. I'm sure we'll probably jump into adding more and more people as the night goes on, because, well, I mean, it never stays this small.
No, it never does.
It never does. Justin, I was coming on air and I got thinking, because I'm like, Justin says he's going to pull up his notes, and I must throw your notes out of whack every week, because I never follow anything that we discuss or anything.
I mean, honestly, what I do is I just go back, throw up all 22 and watch through all like 12 or 15 of the games, just so I know exactly what happened and maybe some big talking points. And then obviously I got to look at it for the quarterbacks of the week. So that's really more what my notes are. It's just a little bits and pieces of all of the games, to where at least I know what I'm talking about each week.
If there's anything that you can say about Justin, is you can't say that he's not a professional. Look at him getting notes all set up for this. Probably a lot more notes than I have. That's for sure. I want to start, Justin, actually with last night's game. Drew Lock, the Seattle Seahawks, Philadelphia on a 3-game skid. There was a lot of things that happened early this year when we were discussing about the Eagles, and we talked about how Philadelphia was as a team. And a lot of us were kind of like, we don't really know what to make of this team. And this 3-game skid, now mind you, San Francisco hit a 3-game skid in the middle of the year as well, but it feels different with Philadelphia. I don't know if you get the same vibe or not, but
I do.
It feels different. And I actually saw an Eagles fan, and this is ridiculous, don't get me wrong, kind of compared this season in this situation, Jalen Hurts to Carson Wentz, as far as Carson having a great year, knee injury, down year, or whatever you want to say, whatever order you want to put that in. And first of all, we all know Philadelphia fans are, no offense to Philadelphia fans by any means, this is not a knock on you, but you guys are fanatics. You guys are you are passionate. So it's, what have you done for me lately a lot, and especially when you've been spoiled as much as they have. Do you feel that this is a different vibe for you here with this Eagles team in comparison to where they were, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I do look at what Philly's got going on, and Philly does have some issues that are much more deeply rooted than what San Francisco's were. Because San Francisco's was truly just injuries, and when you see this team, you see the 49ers and what they went through. It was Brock Purdy was making a couple mistakes. But that was also because of the lack of playmakers. Trent Williams, I believe, was out at the time. So it was just injuries kind of piling up, and they couldn't finish games. You look at Philadelphia, it's kind of been the same story all year. They haven't truly been able to finish. Defensively, they weren't as good as they were last year. And obviously they made the defensive play calling change last night, which in reality kind of screams desperation. So they don't have the same finishing ability that they had last year. And then you even look at all the struggles that Jalen Hurts has gone through. And yes, he battling the knee injury. Yes, he was also sick. But it didn't look like in the run game that Jalen was really necessarily bothered by the knee injury or the sickness. It's him throwing the football. He's kind of regressed back to the Jalen Hurts that we're comparing the Justin Fields leap and stuff to, of like 2 years ago. So there's issues creeping up. And now I will say, Philadelphia fans, and even throw in Dallas in here too, just because you lose a game doesn't mean you're now like an 0-14 team. You're both still 10-4. So I still don't want to jump off the deep end and say that like the season's over, they're not making the playoffs, they're going to go 10-7 and somehow miss with the terrible NFC. No, this team's still a playoff team. But I think if you are hoping the Philadelphia Eagles win a Super Bowl, they have these next 3 weeks, which are favorable games for them. They really need to get some stuff fixed and get on a roll, or it may not look too good in the postseason, because these issues are repetitive over and over and over again. And when you start playing really good teams like San Francisco and you play Dallas, or you play, Heck, you even get to a Super Bowl and you play Baltimore, or somebody over on the AFC side, like a Buffalo. I don't think that's going to win you a Super Bowl, or I don't think that's going to win you a playoff game. It may help you beat the Packers or the Vikings or someone like that, but I even think Detroit could beat you right now. So you got to get some stuff fixed with the Philadelphia, and we can get into the X's and O's and all that deeper if we really need to, but there's just kind of a lot going on at the same time that just kind of screams to me like they're still a playoff team. They may still win the division because of who Dallas has to play. But it doesn't look good for their postseason hopes to move as far as possible.
So Philadelphia and Dallas both clinched this weekend. They are both in the playoffs. They can't miss. So Kenyon has joined us. We haven't seen his face. Salina Liberty offensive lineman. Look at him. His brownies over there are.
Hey, we are alive and well. We are 9-5.
9-5. I just wanted to throw that in there real quick. We'll get to the brownies here in a little bit. But I wanted to talk. We were just talking about the Eagles, Kenyon. Like what? I don't know if you watched the game last night or if you caught it. What's your take on this 3-game skid in Philadelphia moving forward, especially in the NFC, where, like Justin mentioned, the NFC is kind of weak, but there are 2 really strong teams in Dallas and San Francisco. And I just threw up in my mouth when I said Dallas is a good team, just so everybody knows. But they are 2 really good teams out there. Is it a concern for the Eagles? What's your take on the Eagles moving forward?
I got mad respect for the Eagles. I have nothing but good things to say about them. I don't think they have any reason to sweat a thing. The Eagles are a powerhouse here ready to play football, and they'll smack you in the mouth while doing it. So I think they're perfectly fine where they are. The Cowboys, on the other hand, they're an okay team. They just make me mad because they don't win the games that they're supposed to win. That's what upsets me about them. But that's for another day. That story's for another time.
Well, actually, we could talk about it right now because Dallas is going to be my next thing here. For me, Dallas and Philadelphia, I look at these 2 teams and I see 2 really good teams, but I don't see them in the same league as San Francisco. And I think that the Buffalo exposed Dallas this past week. James Cook ran all over him. Buffalo, on the other hand, isn't even in the playoff picture at this current moment in the AFC. We'll get to that in a minute too. But this Dallas and Philadelphia team, I think they kind of mirror each other. There's a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. And it just feels like that even though they have good records and they're always a contender to win a game, there's always these games somewhere along the way that make you go, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah, I will say I'm going to pump the brakes on the Cowboys and the debacle that was Buffalo. Going into this game, I didn't feel like the Cowboys match up very well against the Buffalo Bills. I had a feeling that the Buffalo Bills would actually beat the Cowboys anyway. Now, to the extreme that they did, or looking at the score, yeah, I'm a little more surprised about that. But in the way that the Bills beat the Cowboys, I'm not necessarily too surprised. And I knew they were probably going to lose one of these games over the last 4 that they had. So no, I mean, I'm pumping the brakes on the Cowboys. I think they're still in a better situation and a better spot than where Philadelphia's at. But no, I mean, there are warning signs too. I mean, they haven't really been able to stop the run in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And then obviously James Cook was all of the offense for Buffalo last night. So it definitely rejuvenated the Bills for sure. But no, I'm still pumping the brakes on the Cowboys being like so much of an issue that they may not make a playoff run. I still think they're the second best team in the NFC right now, with Detroit probably right on their heels. But both of them obviously are inconsistent. So who's really going to take that number 2 spot? And then in terms of San Francisco, like San Francisco's in a league of their own. Like I don't even think Baltimore's in the league. Baltimore's probably the closest to them, but I think it's San Francisco and then everybody else.
Chris, does your little thing say him?
Yeah, I was about to say that, bro. What?
Oh my God!
Come on,
dude.
Can I go on?
Is this going to be your hot take segment? Is that what it's going to be called? Is him?
No.
Oh man, what's your take? What's your take on the? What's your take on the Cowboys and the Eagles run here, and what's going on with the NFC right now?
I mean, I think the Eagles, man, they're getting exposed, though. That's just the reality. I mean, they're showing their true colors. They're not a Super Bowl team. I think it's crazy to try to say San Francisco is in a league of their own. When I know for a damn fact Baltimore can go out there and beat them. Like, I know for a damn, and I've been telling everyone this for weeks. Like, watch those Ravens, man. I've been smoking that Ravens pack since the beginning of the season. Like, I know good team, man. I know good talent, and I see it. And I'm just telling you, like, the Baltimore Ravens, man, they're like what they got going, man, with their running game and everything, like the way they're able to rotate their running backs, like that undrafted rookie that they got, Pete Mitchell, I think the name is. He's
You
out
mean
for
the one that's out? The one that's out for the season because he tore his ACL?
I mean, they got JK out. They were able to rotate. They're able to, if every running back has success in the system, man, you must be doing something right. So if they're a running back, man, you want to get drafted by Baltimore. That's the goal. But no, I think Dallas is the whole Dak MVP thing, man. I never understood the whole Dak Prescott and win MVP. Like, I don't know how that's even a topic of conversation. Honestly, in my opinion. But the
I'm not going to go on a tangent on that, but yes, he definitely hurt the MVP hopes. But I still think he has
no MVP. I don't know who in their right mind thinks he should win MVP. Like, no, Brock Purdy, or if you're gonna say Dak, here's my last thing before I let AC or whoever go. If Brock Purdy is in Dak Prescott in the MVP conversation, why are we not talking about Baker Mayfield for MVP? And that's a fair argument if you really think about it.
Oh, well, I mean,
no.
I mean,
I like that one though. I mean, Baker Mayfield is doing his thing now.
I mean, we'll talk about the MVP race here, but I think
the MVP, but he's doing his thing though.
I think the issue
on Baker's name.
I think the issue with Baker and the reason why he's not in that talk though is because his team is 500. I know it's not all his fault, but I mean his team's 500. I mean, it's like the people who were talking about Shedeur Sanders being a Heisman Trophy candidate, even though he was a 4-win quarterback, Krish. So I mean,
there's trends.
I definitely think Baker's a result of the political side of the game. Like, just because he was a number 1 overall recruit, how many other guys even gonna have that opportunity? It'd have been real. Like, you blew one of the best rosters probably in the last 10 years that was put together that you had with the Browns. You blew that. Then you go to the Panthers, you go to the Rams. Now you get another chance to be a starter. That just doesn't really happen.
Well, I have a tough time with the anti Baker argument, primarily because this guy's been in the league for 6 years. He's had 7 different head coaches, 8 different offensive coordinators. I mean, it's a very odd shake. But the Cleveland Browns, Kenyon, I'm about to maybe shatter you a little bit, are such a shit-ran organization for the most part that Baker did not get a fair shake when he was in Cleveland. And it cost Cleveland, it cost Baker, and probably Cleveland, honestly, a fairly talented quarterback that could have probably held them down. I mean, he was one defensive stop away from beating Kansas City in Kansas City. He was the first quarterback, in Cleveland Browns in the last, 30 years to win a playoff game in general? I don't think it was all on Baker in Cleveland. I think it was a narrative that was pushed, and I think that people forget how much rotation and how much instability he had when he was in Cleveland.
Well, and
so I can understand why that.
Yeah, and I'll add, too, just for context of his very last year in Cleveland, where he still played fairly well. He was hurt the whole year. So the dude was basically having to be a gladiator, walking out every single play and taking those shots and still playing fairly well. Now, is Baker Mayfield a top 15 quarterback in the NFL? Absolutely not. But, I mean, I still think he's a starting caliber quarterback in the league in the right situation.
I mean, that's cool, but he's a number 1 overall pick. That's not a fairly well type spot. Look what Cam Newton did. Cam Newton was an MVP, and he took his team to the Super Bowl with no receiver weapons, to be honest. So when you talk about Baker, it's like we make a exception for him when he was drafted number 1 overall.
Yeah, but at the same time, Cam Newton, on the flip side of it, though, even when he was being shit the last 3 or 4 years, New England gave him a chance for 2 years. Carolina re-signed him to bring him back to give him a chance. I mean, he had the opportunities and chances as well. It just didn't. His fall off was just much faster than what we're seeing with Baker at this moment. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam had a lot more stability in Carolina too than Baker had in Cleveland. I mean, he didn't have the team around him. Don't get me wrong.
Are we talking about coaching?
Yeah, I mean, Carolina completely blew their opportunity with Newton. I mean, they didn't build around him at all. I mean, what Newton did when Carolina was special, but I mean, the stability there was there better.
What he did later in his career has nothing to do with what he actually accomplished.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is,
Baker hasn't accomplished anything for real.
Well, I mean,
saying he won a playoff game, meaning what?
Well, when you look at it being Cleveland,
the history of the Browns, that's an accomplishment.
I mean,
sorry, Kenyon.
I mean, it is though. Like,
yeah, no, I know it is, and
look at Joe Burrow. He drafted a guy to change the organization. He ain't do that. Joe Burrow changed the organization.
But Joe Burrow's also had the same offensive coordinator and same offensive-minded head coach since he's entered the league.
That does play a role, but players still play. It plays a role.
Yes, but
I still think we're talking about two very different tiers of quarterbacks here too. Yes, Baker was drafted number one overall
for sure.
too, but yeah,
for sure.
I mean, at that point, you can't control the hype or where you're drafted. We talked about this multiple weeks in a row. So there was hype, and the quarterback class wasn't as strong. Baker went one.
Yeah, and we would talk about guys getting chances over and over again. Like we would talk about this actually before we got on in the network chat, right? All these USFL bums coming from the southern country, they get chances over and over again just because they're, a nice southern calm man. Like it doesn't mean they're good. You know what I'm saying? Like you have guys like Dan, no offense, Danny Southwick. I know that's AC's best friend, but I know it's different. Danny Southwick.
My best friend?
Yeah. Someone you're a fan of, but I don't know.
No comment.
You can't disrespect Baker Mayfield like that. You know what I'm saying? Like he proved himself, he earned his opportunity. But when you get your chance and you continue to suck, like Tim Boyle or like another quarterback, like I get that. But Baker Mayfield not in that league at all.
Can you name another quarterback where they ever let this happen?
What any quarterback where they've had multiple chances like that?
Multiple chances to be a starter in the franchise. Normally after that, like after Carolina, you would have been looking at a backup role. Like I'm not saying Jameis is good. I don't like Jameis, but even Jameis didn't get that. Marcus Mariota didn't get that. Like those are the type of things I'm saying. Like when it comes to him, you never even what you said with Cam. Cam was a stop the bleeding type ad with the Patriots. They really didn't know what to do, so they brought in a vet that could help us do a little something. But he wasn't supposed. Like even when he came back to Carolina, he was just the best option at that moment. But they didn't want him to be the guy.
Yeah.
I also think though that it's also a lot of it's based upon looking at it from a standpoint in the NFL of organizations actually looking at certain scenarios and situations. Like you take a look at a guy like Jameis Winston. Like, do I blame Jameis Winston or think that he didn't get a fair shake in Tampa Bay? No, I feel like he was a scapegoat as well. And New Orleans gave him an opportunity. When Drew Brees was, when Drew Brees retired, and it just didn't work out as well there either. But I think a lot of it, you take a look at a guy like Alex Smith. Like Alex Smith is another guy that I like to look at as well because in San Francisco, it was considered a failure. He went to Kansas City for a couple of years where he had a little more stability with coaching staff, system, etc. And he put together his best season ever, before he got hurt in Washington. So I kind of view it in that sense. Now, is there anybody that's had as many opportunities as Baker? Probably not. I'm sure you could probably find somebody that may have, had the chance on that level. But I think that the league has kind of looked at Baker and kind of been like, Cleveland really kind of wasn't his fault. Carolina certainly wasn't his fault with Matt Rule. And he played well in LA when they traded for him when Stafford got hurt.
Yeah,
So
and
I
then
think that's why
before-
Tampa Bay gave him that opportunity.
Yeah, and before Chris goes, I mean, Baker was brought in to compete with Kyle Trask because Tampa was saying, "Oh, we're going to hand the keys to Kyle Trask now that Brady's retired." Well, and then obviously
Right.
both didn't necessarily perform well in camp, so then you go towards the guy who's at least proven it starting in games, and then Baker's had some up games, had some down games, and then we'll see if he's on my list this week.
You know, and I really hate to keep bringing up the all leagues because it's unfair to the NFL. But you know, when you look at a guy, you know, taking advantage of an opportunity, I know AJ McCarron and you know his fake tears about playing for his son and how that's all a politicized news story. You know, don't let them feed you that BS. But at the end of the day, like you know, look at as soon as he got his NFL opportunity, he went bye to the USFL or XFL or whatever league he played in. But for me, it's like whatever guy takes advantage of the opportunity is the right guy. You know what I'm saying? Like Jake, what did I say a couple weeks ago? I told you Jake Brown is legit. And AC was like, who the hell is that? You know, like, and I was like, man, like, he's legit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew Jake was going to be special because Jake took advantage of the opportunity when he came in late.
Chris, if you put any more words in my mouth,
Yeah, bro.
pause.
This is what Chris
Nobody
does.
said that.
You're asking the Oregon fan
nobody
who had
said
Jake
that.
Browning beat him multiple years. This is dude legit.
Like, nobody said that.
I
This is
knew
a
Jake
Chris-
was legit.
This is a
Jake
Chris
Browning.
thing, man. This is what he does. How do you want to assume that AJ McCarron like doesn't want to play for his kids, man? Like he wasn't even signed to the XFL when he took the job to Cincinnati. Like
It's all fake here, man. Like, don't cry
my
like, saying that
God.
you left an NFL opportunity, bro. You're taking away opportunity. AJ is taking opportunities away from my guy Justin because of his selfishness. Let's be real. Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Justin?
I mean,
No,
yes,
that's enough.
there's a chair that AJ McCarron sits in that I could be sitting in because we play the same position. But at the same
you're probably
time,
right. You're probably
AJ
right.
McCarron still has the St. Louis Battlehawks ready for him to come back if he wants to come play there next year.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
And
like
so the thing is, if you get the NFL opportunity, he's still an NFL caliber backup quarterback. I'm fine with him taking that
For sure.
seat because he's still doing. And then if he wants to still go play for his kids, which is a legitimate thing that you would want to do, that you'd be emotional for. If you have a kid, you would know. I mean, I don't have a kid, but I mean, parents are that way. Like they want to be able to play for their kid and things like that. Like, don't just go hold a clipboard in Cincinnati. You can go make your money holding a clipboard in Cincinnati during the fall, and then you can go play for your kids in the spring.
How are you playing for your kids when they're 6 years old? Like Michael has kids, he knows. No kid is gonna be like, "Oh my god, I got to watch my dad play for the XFL."
But I
are
can
you
say
are you off
as a
your
substitute
damn
teacher,
rocker?
I can say as a substitute teacher, and then I'll pass it on to Kenyon. But I'll say as a
Chris is
substitute teacher,
tripping.
one of my part-time jobs. Like, if kids Google search me and find out I'm a football player,
Yeah.
they start treating me like I'm a god there. They want autographs, pictures, all this other kind of stuff. So you think if kids are doing that in a school about someone who's not their dad, the guy that they come home to every single day, like they're going to want to see their dad do something cool. They want to go to school and talk about it.
Oh,
Like,
they just put Mario Kart in front of the TV. Like, you know, they don't even know who Dwayne the Rock Johnson is. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Are
Like,
you kidding me? My
Everybody
girl's
knows who
Hold on,
Dwayne
come
The
on,
Rock
come
Johnson
on,
is.
come on.
we don't need
Come
any
on,
more hot
come
takes.
on.
Way left.
Kenyon,
Pardon the
Kenyon.
interruption. Muting Chris for like 5 seconds. Go
Come
ahead,
on,
Kenyon.
come on. Kenyon. Chris, you do know that this man is like the winningest quarterback in Alabama history, right?
I think
How is that even in the debate with Justin? He's not taking anything away from Justin.
Yeah.
it is.
Do you know who AJ McCarron is?
I know who AJ
You know,
McCarron
put some respect on Baker's name, like, bro, that's AJ
AJ
McCarron.
McCarron is. I have more respect for his wife than I do for him. Like, let's be real, man. I love AJ. I think he's a nice Southern man. But what I'm saying is, my guy Justin is in better shape. He's ready to go. I believe in Justin. And so what I'm saying is, when you have an opportunity
Well, I
in
appreciate that.
in the NFL and you just
Justin, stop
down,
encouraging.
Well, I'm just saying I appreciate the compliment.
I want to
but
throw some gas
I
on the
understand
fire.
why
I
AJ
wanna throw some
McCarron's
gas on
He
the
doing.
fire.
has
I'm
not-
doing a good
Oh.
job right now.
Chris,
He
All right,
has
Chris
Kenyon,
is
go ahead.
low-key
AJ
right, though.
McCarron
Chris is
run,
low-key
lift,
right.
walk,
If-
skip, nothing.
If Justin and Chris, if both of them are even, bro, you better tell him to go sit his old behind down. We can't cuss on here, but you know what I'm about to say. You
Oh,
better go tell him to sit
cuss.
his
Go ahead.
Go sit his old ass. Go sit your old ass down.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
hey, I'm
Don't sit your
all
old ass.
for competing with AJ. Like, hey, it'll be nice little friendly competition, whatever. I've battled with Tyler Bray before. We're good. Like, let's go.
If anybody's listening out
Let's
there
set
and
it
knows
up.
AJ
Cincinnati,
McCarron,
let's go.
I was going to say, if anybody's listening out there and knows AJ McCarron, let's hook this up, please.
Oh yeah, Tyler Bray scammed me out of $40 to play Call of Duty with him. We're not gonna talk about that though. But anyway, my thing is look, I talked to Shady. I hope Sam Shady not watching this because man, look, like what he doesn't understand and what certain like guys in the alternate league football community or I don't know what they call themselves, the clan. I don't know. I don't know what the name is, but the Zaza clan, right? When I'm telling you the truth. That I've seen quarterbacks come in and play and not play up to that standard. I'm telling you right now, Bryce Young is not a good NFL quarterback. I'm sick of hearing he's a rookie. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. Bro, he's not good. He looks like he's about to fall over every time he throws a 10-yard out, bro. Like, have you seen Bryce Young play? He's not a good NFL quarterback, and he will never be a good NFL quarterback. And if he's wrong, I'll stop watching football and stop coming here because I know I'm right. I know what, you know what I'm saying? I see what I see. So stop giving guys extra chances.
All right. Well, I guess I'm glad I'm a part Falcons fan. So during my team report, I can make it more about Bryce Young. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Moving on to Bryce Young, actually, I was going to talk about Carolina here because
Look at that.
Because Carolina is actually kind of a little bit of a dumpster fire, and I feel, even though I'm not a Bryce Young fan, that Bryce is taking an undeserving bashing, especially from people like Krish, when it comes to his season. When it comes to his season this year, primarily because of the circumstances involving Carolina right now. Like coaching instability, it's probably the worst owner since Daniel Snyder is no longer in the league. And I mean, I don't really know what else to really say about Carolina, but that's basically they're kind of garbage at this point in time. I mean, the O-line's one of the worst O-lines in football. I don't know. AC, what's your take on Bryce Young down there in Carolina?
Man, Bryce Young is a baller, but at the end of the day, a quarterback is only as good as his supporting cast.
Yep.
His offense, they can't keep Bryce Young off his back. So at the end of the day, what is he supposed to do? Any rookie quarterback is going to be out there. What's the term they say? Seeing ghosts. He's going to be out there with happy feet. Then who does he have to lean on? Like they got Miles Sanders, who's doing nothing. Chuba Hubbard's playing good, but outside of that, it's like you got a guy in Adam Thielen who's being productive for what he's being asked to do, but he's not at the point in his career to carry the receiving core. So who's going to do it? Mingo's not. He's still reliable. He can still get open in terms of Thielen. He can still make plays, but who's he supposed to get the rock to? I don't understand. Like we've all seen the guy play football, regardless. And if you want to peel back the layers, CJ Stroud looks a lot different without Tank Dell too, who was a enormous weapon. So it's like, what is he supposed to do with that? I hate when people say if you switched them, CJ would still be doing what he's doing in Houston. That makes no sense. They're a horrible team, from top to bottom. They're horrible.
Houston or Carolina? You talking about Carolina? Carolina.
They're horrible.
Yeah, Carolina's
like
Carolina's
put
some
CJ
ballers.
Stroud over there. Yeah, if you put CJ Stroud over there, he's going to struggle too. They can't protect him.
I also think that this is also a primary example of approaches from two different teams. Carolina sold out to go get a quarterback in Bryce Young, whereas Houston kind of allowed CJ Stroud to come to them and get them. And then when they got CJ Stroud, they believed in him and they built around that offensive line. I mean, they spent a ton of money on that offensive line this offseason as well. Got a defensive-minded head coach to help that defense out because that defense was a problem. And turned and gave the reins to a team that they did draft well. And I'll actually counter your point that CJ Stroud's a different looking person without Tank Dell, because the one game he played without Dell, Nico Collins once again rose to the occasion and played really well. So I think CJ Stroud would have struggled in Carolina just as much. I don't think the levels of success would be as even if you flipped him. I think Bryce would succeed a little bit more in Houston, but it probably wouldn't reach Stroud potential. And I don't think Stroud would be as bad as what we're seeing with Young. But again, it's coaching stuff too. I mean, we don't know what's happening with the coaching, if it's the right QB. I mean, Justin will attribute to this when we get to him about this. I'm sure that, when you have the right coaches that you believe in and the right system that you believe in, it makes all the difference in the world. And right now it looks like Carolina doesn't have a system that fits Bryce Young. Kenyon, what are your takes on Bryce Young? Is it unfair or is it deserved, all the crap that he's been getting, even though they won the game? This is the crazy part. They won the game with him at quarterback this past weekend, and he's still getting shit done all over the place.
I think it's unfair. I mean, I gotta go with AC. They can't protect. They can't protect that man to save his life. Like, if he doesn't have anybody to block for him, you really don't have too much of anything. You're gonna have a long season. It's gonna be a party in the backfield, sacks everybody. It's gonna be like Oprah back there. You get a sack, you get a sack, you get a sack. So you gotta give him his due, and the Carolina Panthers need to spend their money on the offseason to get them the offense line. So that's all I gotta say.
Well, I'll also say right before Krish goes, and then I'll go after Krish. David won't spend money on the offensive line. All right, go ahead, Krish.
Okay, so I love this argument, right? This is funny to me. So obviously Carolina has one of the worst. The Commanders are the worst offensive line in the league, from what I watched.
The Patriots are.
Okay, that's
statistically the Patriots are. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. That statistically the Patriots are.
Yeah, his quarterback wasn't in the pressure in the 16 in a second. But my thing, I think it's just like Will Levis. I'm not saying he has like the receivers that Bryce Young has, but Adam Thielen is a damn good receiver. He really is. Like, and I like to bring the arena comparisons into this too. Right?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Wait.
It's not the same.
Did you just say Adam Thielen and compared it to Tennessee's receiving core that has Nuke on it?
Hopkins.
No.
Literally, probably one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game.
No,
and you just said Adam Thielen in the same breath, bro?
No, I'm saying Adam Thielen. That have LaVisca, right? I mean, LaVisca's amazing, but I'm saying is there's pieces to work with. Now, the arena comparison to this is like quarterback Chris Columbus this year, the guy who's like 38 and like hasn't played in the year. Daniels, Darren, whatever the hell his name is, right? He had Desmond Reese, so that's a piece for him to work with. What I'm saying is when you have pieces around you, your quarterback figure out a way to make it work. Justin knows this. Right, Justin had a luxury weapon in Carolina, right? So you make it work. You figure out ways to make it work. Bryce Young hasn't made it work. I see a quarterback who looks scared to play in the NFL. He's not physically built to play in the NFL. I'm just saying. I've never been this hard on a rookie as I have been in Bryce. His attitude, he's a nice, humble, calm guy. That doesn't work in the NFL. Your kiddish attitude, it doesn't. So I hate when people sat here this whole draft process and crucified Anthony Richardson for no reason at all. They crucified, they hated on him and everything. And now
where is Anthony Richardson?
Well, he's hurt.
He sneezed 3
but he's big, but he's really big, right?
I mean, yeah.
He's huge.
And he's hurt. He's not available.
He's not available.
So what argument is that making? He's hurt.
Okay, but
Bryce is taking the hits, and he's still playing every Sunday.
And he's still playing. He's hurt.
Anthony Richardson, it was a freak injury. If you watch it, it was a freak.
Man, he threw the ball and hit the ceiling to nobody, and his clap hype went this way. Tell me a Florida quarterback that's been good.
Like, okay, Kenyon, right? You made it work in West Texas last year. You had like 8 different quarterbacks. You had a guy.
Mike, he's dodging my questions like Shady McCoy. Tell me a Florida quarterback that's been good. Stop going to Kenyon. Tell me a Florida quarterback that's been good.
Oh, which one?
Chris is like a magician.
Tell me a Florida quarterback that has been good.
He pulls names out of a hat and then compares them through his speech.
Okay, you want a Florida quarterback that's been good?
If you say Chris Leak, I'm leaving.
I won't say Jeff Driscoll. I won't say Jeff Driscoll. But what I will say is, it just because you went to one school doesn't mean that's a stereotype. Now,
But now that we've got there, I'm glad that you didn't have an answer. Because at the end of the day, tell me a Houston Texans quarterback outside of C.J. Stroud that was good? Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah.
Matt Shaw.
When's the last Carolina Panther quarterback that was good?
Cam Newton. I'm done.
That was in 2015. So the success has been had more recently in Houston than in Carolina.
Yeah,
Wrong or right?
Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, they weren't bad. They weren't horrible. I'm not saying they were great, but they weren't horrible.
But they weren't Deshaun Watson caliber,
they're not Deshaun Watson though.
And I'm not even a Deshaun Watson fan. No offense, Kenyon.
What I'm saying is there's been success in Houston. Like Mike said, Matt Schaub was successful. Deshaun Watson was successful. C.J. Stroud was successful. You cannot name someone in Carolina that has been successful. So in some way, shape, or form, whatever they're putting together in Houston is better than what they're putting together in Carolina.
And now it makes it even worse, as Carolina has the worst owner in the league. So, Justin, you've been really quiet. You've been shaking your head. You've been doing some nonverbal communicating over there. So, your thought process on this whole thing as a quarterback.
Oh, where do I begin? Okay.
There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack.
Yes, there's a lot to unpack. But let me just start off by saying my analysis of Bryce Young from this game against the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday. The offensive line actually decided to hold up against a very, very subpar Atlanta pass rush, which in a way was beneficial for Bryce Young to play. So I think you actually start seeing a shade of what Bryce Young could be if he was given protection. Bryce Young actually, there were times that mentally he still made mistakes and he was still slow to process things. But overall, he sped up the game really well. He kept things on schedule. He was overall accurate on some outs and some different things that end up beating zone coverage and all that. And there's still times that the pass rush got through and got to him and he's able to break out of a sack or at least evade it and whatever. But I do think overall you saw what Bryce Young can at least have as a baseline if he's protected. Adam Thielen, I love Adam Thielen. He's from Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, where my grandma lives. Like I love Adam Thielen probably more than normal people do. Plus, he was a Viking, which is really my favorite team. I'm just an Atlanta native, so I like the Falcons too. But you look at Adam Thielen and where he's at in his career. He can still contribute, but like AC said, he's not a number one. He can't carry a team the way that he truly carried Minnesota maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But you're asking him in a way to do that. Mingo's not doing anything pretty much. Laviska Shenault has not really done anything in Carolina.
I don't even think Shenault's with Carolina anymore.
I
don't even know why it was brought up.
He's still with him, but he ain't.
That's the thing. The fact that I can't even really name any other Carolina Panthers receivers. They got
Chark.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. I liked Chark in Jacksonville, but he's done nothing in Carolina. It's one of those overpay guys for a guy that's maybe a little overrated. But you look at the situation. He doesn't have necessarily a great stable of running backs. They're okay, but they're not great. But the running backs won't look good if the offensive line's terrible. You look at the coaching staff turnover. You look at the ownership. And again, we talk about everything needing to be a top-down. Like the most successful teams typically are successful from the top down. And the way the Carolina Panthers just do things, it needs someone special like Cam Newton to be able to even carry a ship. And so I think if you can find a way to maneuver in the draft or free agency or whatever to give Bryce Young pieces, whether that's an offensive line, preferably an offensive line, or add another receiver or two in the draft or whatever. Like, if you give Bryce Young pieces, I think you can start seeing the development of Bryce Young, not necessarily like skyrocket to be a top quarterback in the league next year, but I think you can look at him and say, okay, now we can start to truly judge him. Right now, I think it's just an absolute crap show in everything that is going on in Carolina. And Bryce Young obviously takes a bunch of the blame for it because he is the quarterback drafted number 1 overall that the Carolina Panthers traded their best receiver and draft picks to go up and get. And so rightfully, wrongfully, he's taking flack. Yes, there's things that he's done wrong, but I think it's more of a product of everything around him as opposed to him. The only fear that I have, and this is very similar to now, Chris, with your situation with Mac Jones, if this happens too long, then you might screw up his processing and you might screw up his confidence. And if you do that, then you've ruined the guy's career, like you're getting to the point with Mac Jones.
Well, I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence. I mean, just look at that 1 year leap when he had Urban Meyer and that entire debacle down in Jacksonville to where he was last year with a fairly competent coach and a good coaching staff around him. To even this year being somewhat down for Trevor is still better than most people's quarter. Yeah, it's still better. Than most.
They're still playoff contender. They're probably still going to win their division, even though they've got some tough games and they had some issues this week. But no, I mean, and then the other thing I was going to say about Bryce Young too was, what's the other player in the NFL that is supposedly not physically capable of doing their job because they're too small? A wide receiver in Philadelphia by chance?
Oh, Devontae Smith?
Yeah. So he's proven he can take hits. Yes, they play 2 different positions, but he's proven that even though he hasn't necessarily gained weight, that through the medical technology that we have, through the processes that us athletes now have to get ready, recover, and things like that, you can still play in the NFL and be a smaller guy. Yes, it's different because now Bryce Young is the guy that everybody's going to tackle, things like that. I mean, typically, Devontae Smith would never get hit by a 350-pound man because of where he's playing on the field. But, I mean, you look at that and you say, okay, Bryce Young each and every week is not walking or not being carted off the field. And so I don't even necessarily think that that's the issue. I think the issue is you need to protect the man before it gets to a point where his mental processes are so screwed up that then he's not even a capable quarterback anymore. But I do think this week you saw Bryce Young actually show a glimpse of what he could be if he had an offensive line this year or had a little bit of stability in a coaching staff. But anyway, that's my Bryce Young talk over.
Well, AC mentioned in the private chat that, Bryce Young's been sacked 51 times. Sam Howell's the only quarterback that's been sacked more, where CJ Stroud's only been sacked 35 times. So thank you for that statistic, AC, for throwing that in.
Yeah, I didn't even see it because I got my phone right there.
No, you're good. I saw it pop up on the thing. Coach Shane has joined us. Coach, I think when I said 8:15, you took that as Central Time instead of Eastern. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, that's on me. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, man, I swear I thought these guys get on there a little bit earlier than this, but I was like, all right.
Well, welcome to the show. Chris has already, thrown chaos into the mix as always. And Kenyon was with us there. He's apparently have stepped out for a moment, but we are talking currently about Bryce Young. We're talking about the Carolina Panthers. This past weekend in the pouring rain, he went 18 for 24 for 167, which really isn't bad considering how bad that weather was. In the sense of everything, we're just talking about Bryce Young's caught a lot of flack for what's been happening in Carolina, and what's your thoughts on whether or not it's been deserved? Everybody here is, for the most part, except for Chris, is in agreement. But what's your thought on it?
Me personally, man, I don't think it's been deserved for him to take as much flack as he has. I mean, the man, who's his number 1 receiver? Was it Mingo?
Feeling right now, but Mingo's come on strong the last few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Enough said there. So, but I mean, you look at that. I mean, I know Hubbard. They've been giving him an opportunity to run the ball quite a bit. He's probably gotten, I could be mistaken, but roughly between 15 and 18 carries a game, somewhere around that line here recently, and he's done okay with that. But I mean, look, man, Bryce Young, he doesn't have an offensive line. They're trash. It's horrendous. And, I mean, it's going to take a couple of years to build around this kid, to actually get a good look at him and see what he can do with some weapons or something. You know what I mean? It's just he has nothing right now, and I don't think it's deserved for him to get all the blame. He does make bad decisions here and there, but I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. What do we expect?
Yeah. Hey, David Tepper, I know a wide receiver named Alex Coleman that's looking for a job, by the way. He could come out there and show up, you know, and work with Thielen out there. I just want to let you know.
Doesn't have to go super far from Greensboro to Charlotte.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's a Cincinnati Bengals fan, but you can look past that.
Hey, fandom goes where the paycheck goes.
Exactly.
Correct.
Money does the talking.
That orange hoodie gets changed for a blue hoodie real fast.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Are you wearing is that that's a Cincinnati Reds. No, wait.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Reds hat. Okay. I thought it was a Chicago Bears hat at first, and I was like, wait. You were not hopping off the Raiders after that smackdown they put on the Chargers.
No.
Oh,
look,
by the
I
way,
waited 25 years for that game.
By the way, it's happened. Brandon Staley's been fired.
Oh, yes. Yes. And I'm glad we gave it to him.
Oh, man. I was going to tear him apart every week until that happened. And now I don't have to tear him apart anymore. I'll still tell him apart whenever I get a chance. So he just doubled down, tripled down all the time. Like, I am the defensive play caller. I am confident in these guys. And then you just get smacked in the mouth by the Raiders. So no offense to the Raiders by any means, but
no. It's there. It's what happened. I mean, it really kind of. I was waiting on this man to be fired for multiple weeks now, and at one point I really just kind of gave up. I was like, maybe they're just waiting until the end of the season, you know.
Well, that brings me to my next head coach, Justin. Your boys down there in Atlanta, man. Art Blank made some interesting comments today about Arthur Smith. And possibly being outed at the end of the year. You know, he didn't quite commit to him being there next year after saying he was going to be there. So you expect this man to get fired?
I think he should. I'm still of the thought process that Arthur Blank's going to stand pat and he's not going to get fired. But then again, what is going to happen for the next 3 games, I think, is really going to be the tell. I don't think Atlanta makes the playoffs at this point. They have too many issues. They have a lot of talent, but they can't finish. They can't not turn the football over. So yeah, no, I don't. In reality, I see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning that division and moving on to the postseason. But yeah, if that's the case and they lose the next 3, like I probably think will happen, then yeah, Arthur Smith should definitely be out. But no, I unfortunately, I don't feel like he truly will. But maybe that's just the Falcon fan in me saying, oh, well, we're always going to be the mediocre franchise. So that's why we'll have Arthur Smith as the head coach.
Man, I agree with you. And, you know, I thought graphic today made me so happy. Eric Bieniemy, head coach, Atlanta Falcons, Justin Fields, quarterback. Man, that would be awesome to see.
That'll be the worst franchise in the history of the world. Nothing against Bieniemy. It's not Bieniemy's fault. Just again, back to being mediocre.
Disrespect the quarterback, and you know it. We don't even need to get in that discussion because there's no discussion to be had.
How are you a fan of Justin Fields but not Bryce Young? What football do you be watching?
I mean, the Bears are not getting off Fields. They're going to trade the first pick. They're not taking Caleb Williams. Get off that train. The Bears will not take Caleb Williams. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen.
Agreed. That's the very few
I hope they keep him. I'm not a Bears fan. The person is going to last longer.
Justin and they get Caleb, I swear to God, that would be such a dumb move. Justin in the future, build around him, or if you're going to disrespect him and treat him like trash, like you know these arena football coaches do, then you know get him to another organization like Atlanta. There's still more Patriots. We'll take him. I mean, I would love Justin Fields, man. One of my favorites. Remind me so much of Donovan McNabb. Justin Fields and Donovan McNabb, basically, running. Why? Am I wrong? He's one of the greatest rushing quarterbacks, top 10 all time, right?
No, he's not even better than Steve Young.
Chris, your comparisons are very odd sometimes, man. They're very strange.
I've watched football for a long time, man. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Chris, everybody here is older than you.
Did you say Donovan McNabb?
I've been watching football longer than you've been born, bro. Like, Like
I
maybe that
understand
dates me. I don't know.
And that's the thing, right? Like that's another thing that with quarterbacks, like age just because Bryce is supposed to develop into something great, which he won't. Justin might be a little older. Justin still brings a special element to the table. It's like me, you know what I'm saying? Like
What element is that?
Like for me, I'm better than probably 90% of GMs in the AFL, NAL, or IFL, and I know that. So just put your check on me at the end of the day. But Justin is, Justin Fields is a talented quarterback. We get disrespected like I do, and me and Justin, man, we're in the same boat. So I'm gonna ride to die. I'm ordering a Justin Fields jersey for Christmas. Yeah, you know it.
Oh, right. Well, there's the.
Chris, Justin Fields is a good quarterback.
Yes. Yes, you disrespect.
Okay. My second question.
I'm just gonna refrain from saying anything.
Remember when you said how they never had.
My second question for you is: what are your supporting facts to make that?
He's a great rushing quarterback. Everyone knows that. He's an elite.
He's not a running back.
He's a great running quarterback.
I think what AC is getting is what makes him an actual good quarterback. Like not the running skill, but what's his good ability?
What makes him good?
His ability to zip the ball. He has incredible ball placement. Like I understand sometimes it's not pretty or whatever, but he's not as bad as you say he is. It's like he's not horrible. I'm not saying he's anything.
I like Justin Fields, and I can tell you're out of bounds, Christian. I like Justin Fields. Like I like Justin Fields, man. Like
I'm the one who said
I don't say he's bad. If we
than you are, and that's the reality.
He's not bad in flag football or something.
You compare Justin Fields to Donovan McNabb. Fields hasn't even come close, even as a runner. He hasn't even come close
Chris,
to
that's
what
not
McNabb
a good
has done.
Comparison. That's not a good comparison at all.
I use them in Madden. I know what I see. I ran with both quarterbacks.
Madden's not
use them
real
in
life.
Madden.
Too many
You
video
bring up
games.
a video game one more time.
Yes, it is. Like
I took Brian St. Pierre from a 65 overall to a 98 overall in Madden. That don't mean nothing.
Franchise mode, like you just edited aside it. Like I play Ultimate Team. I play against some of the greatest players in my state. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know how quarterbacks.
Chris,
Yeah, there's a meta to a video game.
you're hurting the credibility of our show. Credibility of our show.
All right, let's move
Our
on from
viewers are
this.
going to leave. We need our viewers.
Oh, let's get to Justin's top quarterbacks here. Let's roll with this one. We'll segue that into this segment.
All right.
Just a lot of things to take into account when you talk about being viewed as a top 5 quarterback. It's not a laundry list. This is a list that it has to be taken very seriously.
Well, we finally hit week 15 in the NFL season, and I think quarterback play is one of the best it's been this week. So it's going to be a hard list to get into my top 5. So let's start off with the honorable mentions and see who just barely missed my list this week. So I got Gardner Minshew, Matthew Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jordan Love. Those guys missed my top 5 this week, but I think all played very, very well and were deserving of maybe even the number 5 spot. But let me get into my number 5 spot for week 15. So at number 5, Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders ended up having a 120.7 QBR, went 20 of 34 for 248 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he took advantage of the 5 turnovers that the Raiders defense gave him, made very, very good, pristine passes. The corner ball that he threw at one point, very, very good. I mean, he played really, really good football, and he's building some decent games, and he's showing that, yeah, he probably won't be a starter at the end of the day, but he's showing that he definitely can compete for something. So let's move on to number 4, a former Raiders quarterback. This theme of the Raiders, I guess, here. Number 4, Derek Carr. Derek Carr had a 134.8 QBR, 23 of 28 for 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. Derek Carr took advantage of the Giants basically giving him cover 4 shell the entire freaking day. And he looked like his Pro Bowl self out there. So, I mean, Derek Carr finally put together a decent game. Saints are kind of getting hot, and we'll see here in 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, whatever it is, whenever Tampa Bay and New Orleans face for the NFC South division crown, or the most mediocre division in football. I mean, hey, Derek Carr, if he continues to play like this, maybe my prediction of Tampa Bay winning is going south. But anyway, going on to my number 3 quarterback of Week 15, number 3, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy had 135.3 QBR, 16 to 25, 242 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Like I say, week in, week out, Brock Purdy is making all the routine plays. He's not making pretty much any mistakes. And when needed, he steps up and becomes a him type of player. So obviously Cam Newton had his podcast saying that he's a game manager and this, that, the other. Yes, he's a game manager, but Brock Purdy's also taking that game manager status and at times becoming a him type player and making plays at some of the all-time great quarterbacks like your Patrick Mahomes, are currently great quarterbacks in the league that you always look at and say are great, like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, that they can carry a team. He's making some plays that carry the team. So Brock Purdy, definitely, I think, MVP favorite at this point, and he's my pick for MVP if I'm choosing somebody right now. Number 2, Jared Goff. Jared had a 134.6 QBR, 24 of 34 for 278 yards and 5 touchdowns. So count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. Jared Goff with a great bounce back week from his Week 14 performance. He delivered strike after strike and led this great Lions offense to a dominating win over a solid Broncos team and a solid Broncos defense. I mean, Jared Goff continues to make his money in the play action game, and it's easy to do so when you have those 2 really good running backs in Gibbs and Montgomery to tote the rock there, and then be able to pair that with that play action game and hit Sam Laporta and hit St. Brown and the weapons that they have there with Williams and in the case there too. So Detroit, yes, they're inconsistent offensively, and they're inconsistent as a team, but when Jared Goff's on, this team can be very, very dangerous. So that's why he's my number 2 quarterback for Week 15. But we've already kind of talked about him today. The number 1 quarterback for Week 15 is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had a perfect 153.8 QBR. He went 22 of 28 for 381 yards and 4 touchdowns. Baker made a bunch of tight window throws all day. He was able to move the pocket and hang in there long enough to make the great play. It may not have looked as pretty as a Jared Goff game or a Brock Purdy game these past weeks, but Baker at the end of the day did become the first ever quarterback to have a perfect passer rating as a visiting quarterback in Lambeau Field. That takes some guts. That takes some balling out, and he definitely deserves my number 1 quarterback spot for Week 15. So that's my list for Week 15. Let me know who I missed in the comment section below. You can feel free to roast me in the comments, but I will say I'm right this week. So I don't think I left out anybody that truly deserves it. So other than maybe Jacoby Brissett. But no, I mean, great week from all these guys. And let me know in the comment section how I did. And stay tuned and come back for Week 16 next week.
You just made AC quit.
To be fair, if you said Jacoby Brissett, Easton Stick. I know all 3 of his touchdowns were in garbage time, but he's still technically, I don't know how we can consider those touchdowns.
Stick had a decent game. Now, granted, you still have 5 turnovers. Now, most of them were fumbles outside of
he had 1 pick. He had 1 pick and 4 fumbles, right?
At the point that Easton Stick actually started playing good, though, it was like 55 to 0.
Yeah. I mean,
that's why he's not my honorable mentions. But I do think he played a pretty good game whenever he really got going.
They had guys from the stands out there playing cornerback at that time.
I'm pretty sure you putting Baker at 1 made AC quit. He's been real quiet over there since you said Baker Mayfield at 1. Kenyon celebrated.
When you have a perfect 158.3 QBR, yes, he probably didn't look as good as Baker and Brock Purdy. But when you do that in Lambeau Field in the rain, you got to give him his props.
It's like low-hanging fruit. So I'm not, we have to say it. We had a perfect rating, but who really cares? Like, he's never a participation trophy. Like, even if they go to the playoffs, who cares? They're not going.
I mean, I think Buccaneers fans care, though. I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm
I think
actually
Bucks
really,
fans-
You know how
really
they-
Question. Go ahead, answer
My
your
My
question.
performances of the week
Excited.
don't necessarily mean playoff performance. It's just the
You
week.
know how they have that
Just this week.
conversation.
We
I'm
talk about the
super
present.
excited.
We're talking about right now. We're not talking about. We're not talking about their resume. We're talking about right now. We're being present.
You're right.
They're one of those teams.
You're right, and
All
I'm super
32
excited.
teams don't think they're going.
I'm super
The
excited to watch
Patriots
AC
know they're
play
not
this year
going.
because, yeah, I'm just excited to watch AC play football this
The
year.
Browns know they're not going.
Whoa,
Yeah.
wait a minute there, Pimpin'. You got a little too much dip on your chip. We 9-5. You got to get it correct.
I mean, you my dog, but y'all know you're not going.
Well, yes, we are. We are 9-5.
Say,
We have
say,
3
say,
weeks.
say that
Who
with
else? Who
conviction.
we
Y'all going to
play
the Super
next?
Bowl, Keon?
No.
Keon, y'all going to the Super Bowl?
No. We're not talking about that. We're talking about going.
That's
to
what
the
I was
playoffs.
talking about.
Bro.
Justin, he's a realist. Are y'all going to the Super Bowl?
Who? The Browns?
The Falcons on your shirt. Are y'all going to
Oh
the Super Bowl
no, the
this
Falcons
year?
aren't even making the postseason.
You want to know what's so crazy?
See,
That
thank you for
I
being
think that he
realistic.
just mad because the Bengals.
Thank you for
ain't
being
winning
logical.
nothing.
I
That's
can tell
all.
you.
We lost a prolific generational quarterback. I know we're not going to the Super Bowl. I'm a realist. You know,
I
I'm a
Eagles aren't going to the
realist.
Super Bowl, but I think they got a strong case to make the postseason.
I can tell you right now.
Absolutely,
I
but
can
we're
tell you
not
right now
winning
who's
the
not
Super
making
Bowl.
the postseason. Washington
Patriots.
Raiders.
I can also tell you the Jets.
Oh yeah, the Jets.
None of
Look at
our
it.
teams are going to the Super Bowl this year. That's on this screen.
What
We
are-
all know this.
Yeah, it's because of Ron Rivera. Like, and I was saying this before. I cannot wait to watch AC play football in 2024, so I can break down every single one of his games and send him voice recordings. And listen him up. I cannot wait for the movie. Because
Chris, I thought you was one of my biggest fans, bro. What's going on?
I'm a fan, man. Trust me, but you know, I'm gonna be like Coach Negron knows, man. I'm like the addition to the coaching staff. I basically could be the offensive coordinator if I wanted to, but I'm gonna let him take it.
Okay, I mean, I'm with that.
Mm,
Critique me,
Hey.
please.
okay.
Real quick, just kind of touching on the Baker thing. I mean, really, Justin, what do you think about how good, in my opinion at least, Mike Evans has really looked this year with Baker? He's really turned it around.
Well, I mean, Mike Evans has looked amazing, but then again, it's so consistent. Like that is Mike Evans.
He's a consummate pro.
Yeah. And I think
that's arguably the best class in like the last 20 years of receivers. Though they're all, they're all
sure. I mean, even if you take a look at it, you mentioned Jared Goff, by the way. In that, I don't think Jared Goff is getting enough credit for really what he's done in 2 years in Detroit by any means. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's Ben Johnson. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when Ben Johnson's gone next year as a head coach somewhere. But I mean, Jared Goff to me just doesn't ever get spoken. Yeah, I bet you would. I take him in Washington. If Bieniemy isn't the guy, I take Ben Johnson all day in Washington. But
heck, I'll take Joe Brady.
You know,
too.
I mean, isn't Brady so? Didn't he sign? Didn't he go? He went somewhere, didn't he?
Yeah, he's with Cincinnati, right?
Is it with Cincinnati?
Which one are you talking about?
Joe Brady.
Joe Brady.
Oh,
he signed on as an offensive like as a consultant or analyst or something with somebody.
Joe Brady's calling the plays up in Buffalo, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Buffalo. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah. Buffalo. Yeah, that's what it was, Buffalo. Look at Shane bringing that IQ and that knowledge to the panel. Look at him over there. When he gets his Eastern time and Central time correct, we'll be
hey, you know.
Oh man! Hey, do you think you found your coach down there, Antonio Pierce? Down there,
man. So I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and there's only one coach that I wouldn't mind us coming in for us, and that's Jim Harbaugh. But I like Antonio Pierce. I like what he's done in the locker room. These players are fired up for him. You know, it's a really good atmosphere right now in Las Vegas, and he's definitely earned his stay.
I mean, you come back from a 0-point performance to put up 63 on a Chargers team. I mean, I know the Chargers aren't playing really good football, and it was without Herbert, but still, that's impressive.
Yeah, I agree, because you still look at that Chargers defense. I mean, you got Derwin James, Bosa. You know what I'm saying? You got some good pieces over there.
Khalil
but
Mack,
yeah, and I mean, and look at the last time they played them. Khalil Mack had like 7 sacks.
Yeah.
So they obviously stepped that up. You know what I mean?
He did.
You know, we said, hey, somebody stop 52.
Oh, Christian's got something to say.
Coach, are there 64 running backs in the NFL that are better than Isaiah Wright and DJ Law?
So
who was DJ Law?
I don't know, man. The way that I look at it is, I mean, these guys are on a professional level for a reason. You know, when you're able to train with a professional team and everything like that and get there, you know, I think those guys can get to that point. You know what I'm saying? For real. They just they need that opportunity, and hopefully we get that for them.
I agree with that. For sure.
Yeah.
That's a hard question, Chris. Like, that's a really hard question to ask somebody, or ask just in general, because it's like, even if there's a guy that's like a stud in one of these other leagues at a certain point, these NFL teams are looking for specific check marks and boxes to check off.
Yep.
And if a guy lacks in one category but might be explosive in another category, it doesn't offset. There's no offsetting there.
No, I'll give you a perfect example from my own scouting report.
Yeah,
So, so in my times, having a couple workouts with NFL teams and obviously working with Tom House and things like that, when I first started working with Tom House, he put me in front of the Saints and put me in front of the Colts just to kind of say, like, this isn't an official workout or anything, but we're putting you in front of the two teams that basically listen to me as gospel. And I'm going to have them give you an official, like, scattering report of what you need to do to continue to improve. And the first thing they said is, we need you to be able to throw 65 yards. And so because they looked at me as a Drew Brees type of quarterback, because Drew Brees actually couldn't even throw 60 yards going into his last season in the NFL. And there's a documentary that we're putting together. It's supposed to be coming out about his training protocols and all that other kind of stuff, which is stuff that I did and all that, that helped him barely hit 60 right before training camp of that last year, that obviously had the rib issue and the shoulder was definitely falling apart, all that other kind of stuff. And it's been delayed for about a year. Hopefully it come out at some point. But for how the NFL scouts now and things like that, there are check marks and boxes that I need to check to even then be looked at as a recruitable asset. It doesn't matter necessarily what the film looks like. It doesn't matter what even the stats say in alternate leagues or whatever. It's sometimes just being able to check the box and then they move on to the stats. Then they move on to the film. It's being able to look the part and be the part. And so that's how the NFL works. So obviously I know Chris is gone, so he's not hearing it at this point. But
he's
those of you wondering.
No, Justin, I agree with you. And I will say this, and this is not, like, I'm not just saying this. Like, when I look at the Cobras quarterback room and I see Justin and Guy, you know, he also posted videos. You both, you know, post videos you throwing. I'm like, the throwing motion, man, it's on point with these NFL quarterbacks. I truly believe that. And so I just feel like it all comes down to getting in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that.
Of course, yeah. The biggest thing, the hardest part is getting your foot in the door. And once you have your foot in the door, you got to go earn your spot. Because the way I say it and the way that it's always been told to me is, obviously, typically you can say there's 64 seats at the table just because you just want to say starter, backup. Yeah, there's more than that. But theoretically, there's 64 spots at the table, and there's not a chair waiting for you. Somebody's sitting in that chair, and you got to go steal his chair. Like that. That's how it is. That's how the arena football world is. That's how professional football is in general. It's how it was in college when you're coming from high school.
Professional sports as a whole.
Yeah. And so what are you going to do that's going to be different and separate yourself so you can steal that chair for yourself? And then at that point, you got to know there's probably 45,000 other people coming to try to steal that same chair.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
And like
it's
when
all
you were
about.
in college, there was a quarterback. His name is Donovan Isom.
Yep, I know him very well.
He's a dog, and like so you have to learn under him and
I
stuff.
wouldn't say so, but anyway.
And
I was waiting for it.
Develop his time and like obviously like you kind of have to embrace that role, and I feel like that's a big part of like being a quarterback and being a quarterback.
Well, I mean, if we're telling stories about that, I mean, whenever he came in and took my job because he was the D1 grad transfer, and obviously an NAIA school is just going to hand him the job. Like what I did is I was in his dorm room every single day for the 2 years that he was then there. When I was then playing scout team and then getting mop up duty as whenever he broke his tailbone and things like that, like I was in his room telling him how to read defenses, read numbers and leverage to be able to throw the out against Houston Baptist or to be able to do this. And so, I mean, I know he won't take credit for it, but I take a lot of credit for even where he's even gotten because of the mental things that I would sit down with him and do that nobody ever knows. And this is probably the first time I'm ever saying it. So it's now obviously, yeah, he's 6'7" or 6'6", 250, 270 pounds. He's really like 270. And he's a great runner. And he's got a cannon of an arm, and he really blew up because he worked out with Des Bryant at SMU for a summer. I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, he deserves every opportunity that he has. He's still a good quarterback, still a good guy, still like him. But no, I mean, it's not. You're looking at apples to oranges here.
Couple tidbits of information here real quick before we move on and close out the show or whatnot. CJ Stroud is out this week, it sounds like. Jamar Chase looks like he's out this week, possible longer, depending on what's going on with the separated shoulder. Sorry, my man AC down there in Cincinnati, because Jake Browning's got you all playing good. Tim Boyle, for some reason,
it's actually a good thing, because now we can see what we need to do with T.
Yeah. And Tim Boyle, for some reason, signed with the practice squad again because, he proved that he belongs somehow. And for some reason, the Patriots just won't start Malik Cunningham, and he's now a Baltimore Raven because of Bill Belichick. I don't understand why y'all just didn't give the chance to Malik Cunningham to see what you got with him. But, what do I know? Because Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi are not the answer, clearly, down there. Kenyon, let's jump over to you. Cleveland Browns report, my man. Give us a little rundown at your 9-5 squad. Right now, squarely in the playoffs. Looks like you're probably going to get into the playoffs. But what's the report down there, considering you got Joey Flacco? That was the other thing, too, by the way. If Mason Rudolph starts this week, he will be the 58th different starting quarterback to start a game this year. So, Joe Flacco, man, and the Brownies.
I'm gonna be a realist, I'm gonna be real. You know what I'm saying? We're for sure gonna make it to the playoffs. Like I said, since day one, we're going to the playoffs. So, hey, my prediction is valid. Now, how far we go, that's a whole different story. So, just having all these different quarterbacks just scares the hell out of me. I'm not even gonna cap. But I do believe going with the wait, you said who's gonna be? Ooh.
You got Joe. Look, you got Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You got him at the helm, and he's playing. Like, he turned back the clock right now. I mean,
I'm okay.
That's history for a reason.
Yeah. He said it perfectly, and it's like Joe old. Like, Joe is old. Like, he's doing what he needs to do. Yes, I will tip my hat off to Joe Flacco every day of the week. Boy, you're doing it. But will he be the one to take us to the promised land? No. So within now and the end of the season, beginning of next season, we're gonna have to figure out who the hell the quarterback gonna be, because I don't think Deshaun Watson is it at all.
Well, with the
Water-
guaranteed money, I think you're
The
supposed
guaranteed money, Watson's going to be your guy, bro. Like,
Yeah, I'm stuck.
Money. Yep. So
I'm
we're
stuck.
stuck with him.
I mean,
Since-
hey,
Okay.
if you want to hop on the Krish bandwagon train of Bryce
Y'all
Young,
Tina
being
Turner, he's Ike.
well, maybe Deshaun Watson gets traded to Carolina and plays "quote unquote" at home in
To
Carolina.
hell.
Hey, y'all stuck.
No, Cal.
It's an abusive
Cal Watson's
relationship.
home at the massage parlor now. Come on now.
Hey man, look here. Hey,
Brown,
hey, Deshaun
Be-
gonna rub
being
us
a
away
Brown
to a
is
damn
accepting
touchdown,
an abusive
damn
relationship.
championship.
hey, AFC Championship game, maybe Cleveland and Cincinnati. AC Browning.
Hey,
I
that's
mean,
the day
well,
Ohio will blow up.
Come on, right there. AFC Championship game,
Playing
Ohio.
them bums.
Well,
Hey.
I will say when I was going through
Don't play
playoff
them
predictors and
bums.
things like that, week 18 might be a whoever wins between Cincinnati and Cleveland goes to the postseason.
Yeah, it's possible. With the way Buffalo, with the way,
Dude, we
with
gotta
the way
get a
Buffalo,
live stream of that though. Wouldn't that be
with the way
crazy?
with the way Buffalo's playing, but Buffalo's got a tough road down here. The last 3 games of the season for Buffalo are pretty tough. But right now the Colts are in, so I could see a world where the Browns and Bengals and the Bills all make it in. To be honest with you, but
Yeah.
I mean the fact that the Colts are in. What about you? You got faith in Browning? You think he can bring you down there, AC?
I mean, he can get us in there just because our team is good, but I mean, for what? You know, we kind of us and the Browns are kind of in the same conversation as Florida State. Like, yeah, we can get in, but why?
Why not?
I mean,
You only got to get hot. You only got to get hot any given Sunday, bro.
You play to
Man.
win the game.
The game.
There you go. You play to win now.
look here, Coach. I ain't never been a fan of participation trophies.
I feel you, man, but hey,
Let's not.
talking about Cincinnati though, man. Browning when he gets hot, like he's really looks good. You know, he's not Joe
See,
Burrow
we
by no
just got
means,
that.
but he's
We just
looked
haven't
good.
been able to stay healthy.
Right. Yeah.
Like one guy goes down, another comes back, the other one goes down. I mean, Boyd, Higgins, and Chase have not been hurt.
I do like how you guys have used what's his name? Brown, the running back.
Chase Brown, yeah,
Chase
Chase Brown.
Yeah, the way
Yeah,
y'all
we got
done the
him.
last few weeks.
We got him and Charlie, because Charlie Jones has really slept on too.
Yeah.
Especially in the return game, he's really slept on. When we got them two, I was really excited about it because I knew we was gonna lose Samaje. I still would like Samaje back because he gives us that extra physical presence. But we don't have him. But Chase Brown, they're the perfect change of pace for each other. In the screen game, he's really good. Defensively, it just depends what we do. Like, I think Henderson is like third in the league right now in sacks. Something like that. So he's playing well.
Henderson was a good pickup for you guys from the Saints. He did well with the Saints. You know, he was a top defensive lineman there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm optimistic about it. I mean, I'm not a Browns fan, so I have hope.
I mean, I think Jake Browning is a top 32 quarterback in the league. Personally, I think he should be a starter somewhere. Honestly, to get as long as he can stay healthy, I think that he absolutely is a top 32 quarterback for sure.
Do y'all see Kenyon's box right now? You see
Yeah,
that
Kenyon's
shadow
box.
behind him?
Is that you?
That's the Browns looming over him all his life.
I thought you were going to say something like that's the Bengals looming on the Browns or something.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
it's so crazy
No matter
because
what, he
we
can't
are
escape
way
it.
better off than y'all. Like, at least we're still alive.
Like I asked Chris.
Battle of Ohio.
Like, y'all
Listen,
need
do you
Jesus.
understand in training
Y'all need
camp
the
y'all are
Lord
not
and
alive?
Savior to
Y'all
come
need
and,
Jesus.
Bro,
and
I
save
went
what
to
y'all got
Patriots training.
going on.
I went to Patriots training camp.
Kenyon,
I
when
promise
y'all go
you.
to training camp, y'all don't have a chance when y'all get there.
Oh, boo! It's always something negative from the
They've tried everything to give y'all morale. They tried hard knocks. They tried free food. I mean,
y'all still
everything.
got
I think
y'all still got the world's best. Y'all still got the best. One of the best Ohio quarterbacks that came out of this motherfucker, and y'all still shit in the bed. Like
shit the bed. How? What's he talking?
Hey, wait. Hey,
we drafted guy number 1. And he takes us to the Super Bowl. I don't know about y'all.
well, you guys, you
it's
both,
a slow
are you both
grind.
from
It's a
Ohio?
slow grind.
Yeah, I'm from Ohio.
Are you both from Ohio?
Yeah, he's
What-
from
What's up with this?
he's from,
Who's the one that has like that chili, whatever the hell it is?
Cincinnati.
Is that Cincinnati? Is that shit any
The
good?
three-way chili.
What is that?
Eh,
Is it good?
I'm not a
I've
chili
never-
person, but I guess.
I mean, it's okay. I've been to Cincinnati a couple times.
Like, I guess.
I mean, I'm a big dude.
Kind
I
of like
gotta ask
going to
about the food.
Chicago and getting a Chicago dog. Like, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's like what the city's known for. So you got to
Still
get
a
it.
wiener.
It's still a wiener. Shane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, Shane,
Yeah.
what's up? Wait, were you leaving, Chris?
I-
You
can
said
I
all
do
your
my-
hot takes.
I-
You're
I-
bouncing.
Yeah, I just no. I have to just head out. I didn't do my team review though. No, I told you all about the Patriots, right? I told you in training camp. I went to one training camp and I saw the weakest line I've ever seen. They were warming up near me, and I saw it, and I saw it with my own eyes. Like Kenyon has NFL size. Like, let's be real, right? How tall are you, Kenyon? Like 6'6", 380, something like that. Like, you know, yeah. Like,
I'll run your ass over.
like
Yeah.
no, but my thing is like, look, like I know when I see good talent, I'm a recruiter, I'm a scout, that I'm the best in the business. Okay, so at the end of the day, like I say
Be
the
glad you're not a scout for the Browns. There's no job security.
okay, all right, buddy. But what I'm trying to okay, that you know what. I would take a scout job wherever they would have me. I would be grateful for whatever team they would have me, but I don't need to be
I
a
want
scout.
better for you.
I need to be a GM, and you know that. Take Anson
I
Yarbrough
just
with me,
want
bro.
better for
I
you.
could build a team with dogs with Anson. Tell Anson to hit my line, bro. But the thing is,
He was supposed to be on the show.
politics run
That's a good-
football. I've been telling you all this since the week one. There's guys who are in the Patriots building who do not deserve to be there. I promise you that. I've seen it with my own eyes. I watch every single week. I break down games. Like, I don't watch to watch. Like, I know what I'm talking about.
Chris, we trust you. We just don't trust Kendrick Bourne.
Well, okay.
Come on,
I
MVP.
was young then. I was young. I was young when I made that.
I was young. It
I
was like
young.
literally like 35 minutes ago. What do you mean you were young?
Dude, I
Meanwhile, he just got,
turned 18. When you
meanwhile,
turn
he just
18,
got his driver's
everything
license.
goes out the window, and you know that. When you turn 18, it's like
Oh,
it. You know, like
I'm
I
flying.
was
Having
young.
fun.
He said.
I was young, but what I'm trying to tell you, all is this season the wash will end up drafting Drake May, probably because Caleb just doesn't fit what we're trying to do here.
May
We're
end
gonna-
up being the first overall pick, bro.
Honestly,
Drake
but
May is a
I think it
dog.
all depends on who you hire.
and then Caleb didn't go to
Man,
Kenyon to Ohio
dog.
State. Caleb Williams to Ohio State. I read that rumor on Discord last night, and I'm starting to kind of believe it. But
I
Chris,
heard-
Chris,
I
Chris,
thought it
do
was
you get
Arch
all
Manning.
your new? Do you get all your news from Facebook too?
no. I knew about Max Miler signing with Green Bay 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? I get all my news from accurate sources. I know where I get my news from. I don't believe everything I see. You know, I like when Justin did the whole CFL NFL ball video. Like I believed it, but I still did my research, and turns out Justin was right on point. You know what I mean? Like what I'm saying is like you have to trust the fans. You have Robert Kraft, if he kept an open mind and listened to the fans, we've been voicing our opinions. We've been voicing our frustrations for about 3 years, and he doesn't care. He's just old, man. Like, it just makes you so upset and mad. I love this team. I watch this team every week. This team is a part of my state. This team runs my state economically. If Massachusetts didn't have the Patriots, it probably would be like Detroit or Oakland. I don't know. Like, we're lucky.
It's not even that bad
Chris,
anymore.
Chris,
Well,
Detroit and
y'all
Oakland aren't
would
states.
know where.
What?
I wouldn't be like Detroit. I'll tell you that right now.
Detroit and Oakland aren't even states, bro.
I understand that, but like you know what I'm talking. It's location. It's all location. Okay, life is about location. What I'm trying to explain to you,
Detroit.
my final thing is I don't need to be going to Detroit. The only thing I would go to Detroit for is the interview with a GM job for an arena team that I already should have gotten. But anyway, And yet, and that's not me like going over the top. That's me saying the reality. And like, you have coaches and owners in this game, like they're scared of me. So that's just reality. But anyway, my final thing tonight before I head off and say good night to you guys, because I know you all have to go to bed, go to work or whatever. But my thing is look, organizations are run from the top down. Robert Kraft has fundamentally lost it. We need new leadership. I need Jonathan. I need someone to step in, someone who's not going to go to get massages, like someone who's reliable, someone who's.
Why would you want to hand it to Jonathan Kraft?
Jonathan Kraft is young. He's like Jonathan Kraft is like.
And he's getting massages, I bet.
Jonathan Kraft never. No, don't disrespect.
Haven't you heard that typically people grow up to be just like their dad?
Far from the tree.
He was probably in the other room with his dad. What do you mean? Like
he just didn't
probably made this.
Dad, is it my turn yet?
He was just closest to the exit, man.
Like, look, what's crazy is look, and I know people who are watching this are probably going to be all up in arms about me saying this. I don't mean to go on a rant, but I'm speaking the truth here, right? I know I've been saying about my. Okay, yeah. I made it not too far away. So I know about but the GM job and everything. Like I truly believe I have the credentials to become a GM. I've shown it. I've proven it. I can find talent. I find diamonds.
But this isn't interviewing. This isn't an interview.
I understand that.
I'm not interviewing you.
What I'm trying to tell you, the Patriots have all the resources to draft. They have all the resources to draft wide receivers. They missed on N'Keal Harry. Okay, they missed. And they've missed on everybody day after day. This is why this organization is at its pitfall. I've been saying this. I said this before the downfall. I predicted the downfall. I predicted it more than like financial with the Russia crisis. The Great Depression. They didn't even predict that as much as I predicted the Patriots downfall. So I knew this was coming. I saw it. I know what makes a franchise successful long term. Like that's it. That's all it is. So it's just a fact. I'm sorry. Have a good night. God bless all of you. And, just follow Shady Sports Network. Follow me. And I'll see you at the top one day, man. All these arena leagues, man. I know you're all scared of me. So, count your checks, count your days for sure.
Oh, man, Chris. Love that, man. Love that, man. Don't know what it was, but love that, man, either way. I will echo one point about him, though, is I don't think the coaching job by Belichick is the problem. I think it's been the GM job from Belichick that's been the problem.
For sure.
And the downfall from New England when Tom Brady, bounced. I think a lot of people predicted it A, but B, I think that it's more of a consequence of Belichick's GMing than it is really his coaching, to be honest with you personally. So, Shane, the Raiders.
It's inevitable.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to follow up, Chris.
Just pretend you're interviewing. Just pretend you're
interviewing for a head coaching job. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
For in arena or let's just start at Pee Wee. Let's start at Pee Wee.
Oh yeah, you can start at Pee Wee. There we go. Yeah, start at Pee Wee like that. Yeah.
No, man. No, the Raiders. Just speaking on it, we're coming off that big win, and it was a big emotional win. The guys, they were out there. You've seen it on TV. They were having fun playing the game. But let's be real. We're about to play the Chiefs. And last time we played the Chiefs, it was I think it was 31-17. And that was at home. This week we go to Kansas City. 41.5 point spread over under. Point spread, 10.0 point spread, 41.5 over under. But it's like
y'all gonna upset them. Y'all gonna beat them.
Kansas City, man, they're not playing the greatest ball right now, Shane.
I feel like the biggest
thing right now, y'all gonna beat them.
I think it's like Devin Haney and Tank, okay? Because Devin Haney just came off that nice win, and everybody, yay! And then he's about to get knocked out by Tank. Well, Tank is the Chiefs, and, Devin Haney is the Raiders. So, going into Kansas City, it's like a 40, 41 degree supposed to be game, and we just hadn't really played well outdoors. The only game that we really kind of stepped it up more than I thought we would was when we went to Miami. But if we can get the run game going against Kansas City, and that's really the strength of this all. If we can get the run game going, we can probably contend within the game and stick around for a little bit. But big time is Jacobs going to play? Is Jacobs not going to play? And then you got Zamir White, and it's just that's a big drop.
I got to lean on Zamir, man. Zamir can play.
I like Zamir.
He can play.
I like Zamir.
He's not Jacobs. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't necessarily
weird,
mean that
though.
their run games are that different, but their pass catching ability is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say
Zamir
that.
White.
Zamir doesn't really catch.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And Jacobs, especially over the last few years, has really come on as a good dump off, pass catching back. And it's we got to get the run game going. If that happens, then you have Devontae and Myers, that can do work and stuff. But realistically, man, we got to shut down Kelsey, which how do you do that? We'll see. And Rashee Rice. But
I'm not laughing at you, Shane. It's Krish.
Yeah. Yeah. If we can force every pass though to Tony, that'd be great.
Kadarius Toney sucks.
Yeah,
he's so bad.
That's the key to the game. Force every pass to Kadarius Toney.
Now there is one thing I will agree with Krish on. Alex is a better wide receiver than Kadarius Toney, but at the same time, I feel like you and me, Shane, are better wide receivers than Kadarius Toney. So
yeah, man. Listen, those guys in the Seattle
Like a
fish
compliment,
market
that's
that
not a
catch fish all
compliment.
day.
Well,
are
no,
better
well,
than Kadarius Toney.
it's a compliment to you, Alex. I'm just saying that's how bad Kadarius Toney is.
Yeah,
Man, that dude is
6'9",
bad.
6'9", 40.
He's so bad.
Yeah, and Kadarius, he just he just can't catch. He I wonder how good he'd be at DB.
And he's not cerebral at all.
At all. At all.
He'd be a pretty solid slot receiver though because he's shifty.
Yeah, he's one that you got to get the ball to
Not,
him
not,
around.
sorry, not a slot receiver, slot DB.
Yeah,
My bad, nickelback.
yeah.
I think he should have been a guy that's just returning the ball.
Probably, or he should be in the
like-
CFL, one or the other.
Well,
I mean, he went to Florida though, so that's what that's about.
He went to Florida.
and I'm a
sure.
Gator fan. Thanks.
Yeah, but that's what that's about. He went to Florida.
Oh, Shane.
Yeah,
As an FSU guy, it's a dagger to the heart.
it's all right. I'm a Gator fan. It's a dagger to my own heart.
That's true.
See us
I feel like being
Fan, I can
Commanders.
second that.
I was gonna say, but I feel like being a Commanders and a Raiders fan that does that to you.
Yeah.
Justin, your two-team report, your Vikings and that started their fourth different quarterback this year, and Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll make Atlanta quick, short, and sweet. I mean,
Like their score?
Desmond Ridder, Falcons offense made too many mistakes. I mean, Desmond Ridder at times shows flashes, but if you don't have Josh Allen's ability to make tons of plays and come back from interceptions that you throw, then you're obviously losing football games that way. But in a way, that kind of segues perfectly to the Vikings anyway. So, I think Nick Mullins actually played a very solid game. Now, the two interceptions really hurt, and then you miss out on at least 6 points with the two interceptions. One of them is just completely boneheaded decision to try to throw out of a sack, and you throw it right into the chest of the Bengals defensive lineman there. But the other one, honestly, it's just a bad read. He just assumed he would probably get like a cover 4 or in a way a drop 8 to just sit right at the goal line. With the play that they ended up having, didn't necessarily go through his read too well. They were actually in cover 1 man. And so you can't really throw a dig right in the end zone to a guy with the safety that's not even really covering anybody, being able to just ball hawk right there. So that forces the interception there. when you have two outbreaking routes, because it was essentially like a flood concept that Minnesota was running there on the 14 or 15-yard line, whatever it was. And you had, he was making tight window throws at times, and so those are you could have thrown to the running back on the bottom part of the flood, or you could actually throw the actual flood route to I believe it was KJ Osborne coming across the field to create the flood concept look. You have that. You can try to force it into the window there. It's not a turnover. Then you get a field goal. Then you're looking at a different game at the end of the game there. So, but no, Vikings defense continues to play very well until they couldn't get pressure on Browning towards the end of the game. And then the one time they did, T. Higgins is T. Higgins and makes that amazing play. And hey, you got to give it to T. Higgins. Like that's a hell of a play. And it's an all world play. So, but I also say, and I think AC could probably agree with this too, I think the Bengals and Vikings are basically the same team right now. They're dangerous and they have the ability to win games, and they are good teams, but they have a lot to prove over the next 3 weeks for postseason. And obviously they're starting backup quarterbacks. But I will say, although I know Dobbs personally and there's personal attachment there, I do think Nick Mullins, at least from what I've seen, Nick Mullins at least gives Minnesota the best chance to win over the next 3 weeks. Now, do you maybe get Dobbs in there for maybe some more running packages? Maybe. But no, I've kind of said this over the last couple of weeks that Mullins was probably the better guy for Minnesota right now. And then I'm just hoping we re-sign Kirk Cousins next year.
All I will say is they should have never have cut me.
Yes, that indeed was a mistake.
Oh man, Jake Browning, gonna love him. I'll keep my first. Joshua, shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in. Definitely go Bills. I'm actually kind of slightly rooting for them to get into the playoffs.
Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills.
He said the biggest game.
They're gonna have
the biggest. Oh yeah, for sure. He said the biggest game of the week is Dallas at Miami. I still don't think Miami's won a game against a team with a winning record, if I'm correct. So. I don't think
Tyreek plays. That's a huge game.
Well, we'll see what happens there. But with Dallas being exposed this past week by Buffalo, and Devin Achane being as explosive as he's been for Miami, it could spell some issues for Dallas in this week too. It could be a double back-to-back. So we'll see what happens there as well. As for my Commanders, I'll make it short and sweet. As much as I would love for them to continue to develop Sam Howell next year and give him another shot, because I don't think it's really his fault this year. If they don't hire Eric Bieniemy, I think they're going to go get themselves a quarterback. And the only other guy that's acceptable other than Eric Bieniemy in my eyes to be head coach for us would be Ben Johnson. So hopefully Josh Harris does the right thing if he really wants to get this program, this organization on the right track. I would love it for it to be Sam Howell, because I think Ben Johnson would fit Sam Howell perfectly, considering what he's done with Jared Goff. But we'll see what happens there. I just appreciate the fact that I get to see Howell for a year playing. So
well, I'll make one comment about Howell and then kind of segue that into Brissett very quickly. I think if you're a Commanders fan, which obviously I know you are, I think you saw what an offense could look like when a quarterback actually truly is decisive on where he could go with the football. I think Sam Howell has higher upside and is the better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, even though Brissett is one of those probably 33rd best quarterbacks in the league, typically, where he's probably one of the better backups you should have, or that any team would want to have. But the issues that Sam Howell had in college of holding the ball too long, and that's starting to creep up and maybe creep up a little too much, comparing now to statistically the worst offensive line in football. That again, we talked about Bryce Young earlier. If those mistakes aren't cleaned up, you might start seeing things snowball, and then you're looking at maybe Sam Howell as not necessarily the bust, because obviously he wasn't drafted very highly to begin with, but you're looking at a missed opportunity. So whether that's Bieniemy, Ben Johnson, or whoever they go and hire, if they truly feel like Sam Howell's the guy, they have to be able to find a way to coach that out of him and allow him to be a better decision maker. But at the end of the day, I think Jacoby Brissett probably should start the last 3 games of the season and don't allow Howell to get into any more bad.
Well,
But that's
They-
it. That's just,
they are sticking with Howell. They did say Howell's still going to be the starter, which to me I think is actually the right choice. Let him finish out the year because it's not a matter of how you start, it's how you finish, and we'll
That's
see what
true.
happens with him down the stretch. The only thing I will say about Jacoby Brissett when he came in, and Joshua, I'll get to your answer here in a second, is how many times have we seen a backup quarterback come in mid-game and just kind of shine just because it's
that's
not
true.
necessarily a prep? So
and then if they go start another week, then they're terrible.
yeah, and last week I think that
And
he
there's
also
nothing to
came.
lose.
He came in the fourth quarter also with a more basic defense. They weren't really playing. They were up big at that point, you know. So I mean, and Brissett is a solid quarterback in the NFL. We've seen him play. He's won plenty of games. So he's just a dangerous quarterback to come into like that, and for sure. So, and to answer your question, Joshua, honestly, right now with us owning the fourth pick in the draft, I don't see us moving up with a guy like Jaden Daniels kind of creeping into a top 5 situation, because if Drake May does go first, it's going to kind of throw that top half of that draft out of whack. And I think it's going to kind of spin things. And there's also still a chance. And there's also still a chance that we could end up with the number 3 pick in this situation. So it will be just a matter of whether or not, if we're sold on Jaden the same way that we would be sold on one of the top 2 guys. Now, to me, I think there's a drop off personally. But I think Jaden does present a unique skill set to the NFL that if you get the right guy in there at the head coaching position in the right system, that could potentially be a dangerous combination for the future. It's just a matter of whether or not you're sold with Jaden. Personally, I would like to see Josh Harris and the ownership group kind of stay put and kind of see what happens with that quarterback situation at the top, because I'm a build through the draft kind of guy. I'm not a Carolina approach where you trade up and trade all your. I'm more like a Houston approach where or a Chicago Bear approach, where it may take a little bit longer, but you can actually get there if you get the right people in places. It's just a matter of getting those guys in places. So to answer your question,
saying go get that Penn State tackle.
See, well, and that's the other thing too, because I think Sam Howell's played well enough, in my opinion, to deserve another year as a starter.
Yeah.
And see what he can do where you don't have an offensive line where he's getting sacked constantly.
Yep.
But you need to get a quarterback coach and an offensive-minded coach in there that's going to work with Sam Howell and have him give him a chance to unlock his potential. So to me, the Penn State offensive tackle is the safest and best bet. But as you know, our opinion about what's the most important position in football and the NFL's most important position in the NFL is not the evaluation process. So hopefully we'll see what happens. I just hope that this ownership group isn't as dumb as Daniel Snyder. So far, so good, but we'll see what happens. So does anybody have anything else tonight? Because I know there was a lot that happened this past weekend. We did not get to it, but
no.
I want to shout out, man, Joshua Heppel. That's the owner of our organization, the Mississippi Gulf Coast Raiders. So,
all
give
right,
him a shout out. So,
yeah, hey, thank you for tuning in, Joshua, and shout out to you guys. Looking forward to your season this year for sure. And you know, if you ever need a GM from afar, you know, don't look at Krish. I'm right here. this is now an interview process, right? No, nah, it's cool. But yeah, and so if anybody else has anything, if not, then let's just sign it off and just call it good for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make some updated awards predictions maybe next week. But no, I think we're going to see a lot more this next Sunday.
Real quick, if we got a chance to, who do you guys have winning the 2 big bowl games this weekend? Isn't it this weekend or is that next weekend?
The playoff?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
Yeah, it's always New Year's.
Well,
so it's next weekend.
That sucks.
Bama.
Christmas is down the drain.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say I think Michigan's gonna beat Bama, and I think Washington's gonna beat Texas. And I know that seems like the safe bet because it's the top 2, but I think Washington has a chance to actually win this championship this year because I think that team is that good. I know that's not what AC wants to hear as an Oregon fan, but I mean,
it's the Alabama Invitational. They win the whole thing.
Well, I mean, everybody's got that SEC bias. I know.
It's not that, but once you get there, it comes down to knowing how to win it. They know how to win it. You know what I mean? Like Michigan was in this position last year, like they're going to do it again. Washington can do whatever they want to do, but I don't think they're as deep as Texas or Bama.
Chris popped in. I think he was in the wrong spot. Sorry.
Yeah. He was looking for Kendrick Bourne. He wasn't.
Yeah.
he needed to be in a hospital for that one. So
yeah. No, if I'm going for my CFB or CFP predictions, I'm rocking, I guess, SEC bias both ways now. Because once 2024 hits, they're an SEC school basically. But Alabama, Texas, in the national championship, and give me Bama. The only reason why I go that way is I think the Washington Texas game will actually be the one to watch. I think Bama's getting hot at the right time, and you see that through many different sports. If you get hot at the right time, things happen. So I think Alabama wins comfortably against Michigan. And then Washington, Texas is close. Maybe it's one of those all-time great games. I mean, maybe it could even be like your Georgia-Ohio State game from last year. That was really the national championship game. But, I mean, then you get Alabama, Texas, and Alabama avenges the loss. And then Florida State can go beat Georgia, which I'll be okay with. You'll claim your national title.
So here's my thing with Bama, and the primary reason why I don't think Bama is as good as everybody is thinking they are. I know they beat Georgia in that SEC championship game.
Well, Georgia's not as good, and I'm a Georgia fan. Georgia's not as good as they were in previous years.
But that's not it, though. You said Alabama's getting hot at the right time, but just the week before, it took a 4th and 31 play against an Auburn team that the week before got absolutely slugged by New Mexico State. I mean, you're like, I know it's a rivalry game, so everything's a little bit differently, but when you look at a team like that against Alabama, Bama would never have been in that situation if this was a Bama team that's as good as everybody thinks they were. They would never have been there. And if it wasn't for an Auburn team that clearly, I mean, they went 6-6 for the year, that clearly just forgot how to play defense in the back end zone on a 4th and 31. This is a whole different story. And I think Michigan right now, no matter whether or not you make a case for Florida State or even Georgia to be in, this is a Michigan team that I think is a lot better than people think, because Michigan's been a letdown in the playoffs in the past. But I think they're playing a whole different animal right now with this Michigan team in comparison to where they were last year when they lost to TCU. Yeah. So I just don't that's where I'm at with that.
Offense. I don't trust Michigan's offense.
Yeah, and I don't trust Alabama's offense. So
but see, one thing about that play though, not a lot of people can make that throw that Milroe made.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I'm not taking anything away from Milroe. I'm not taking anything away from the pass either.
And in reality, that's why I'm taking Bama over Michigan. The inconsistency in Michigan's offense, the lack of explosiveness in Michigan's offense, and then the development of Milroe. I think he's finally becoming what I thought everyone was wanting him to be in week 1, week 2. And that's where I kind of see, like, the team overall probably isn't getting hot, but Milroe is getting hot. He's developed more. He's become maybe a different product than what he was. And then at the end of the day, it's kind of the whole Patrick Mahomes thing. Yes, Kansas City has all these issues. Become playoff time, where's Patrick Mahomes at the very minimum? AFC Championship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're asking a Nick Saban coach team that, even though it may not be as talented as other Nick Saban teams of the past, you're asking Nick Saban to prepare for a team or prepare for a game in a college football playoff that he's been there however many times. So I just maybe it's just the Georgia fan in me that knows that Bama still owns us. Like it's one of those things that's like, okay, I'm never going to bet against Nick Saban, just like how I'm never going to get a bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
It's very hard.
I can't do.
It's very hard to bet against Bama. I will admit that for sure. It's very hard to bet against Bama.
I think Bama wins and Washington wins, and I think actually Washington takes it over Bama to win it all.
I think this Washington team's that good.
I'm a back Penix. They got good wide receivers. They've also got a good run game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I just haven't seen enough of Washington's defense.
Roma Dunze, man. That's my dog.
I mean, their front is okay. I think this is the way I look at it. When it comes to Bama, it's like, Division 3, you look at Mount Union and Wisconsin Whitewater. They know what to do when they get there. It's the same thing as when Grand Valley State was running Division 2 football. They know what to do when they get there. It's like when Coach K would get in the NCAA tournament, the regular season didn't matter anymore because we know what we're doing. You know what I mean? That's what I say with Bama. Like, there's no argument that the SEC, regardless if anyone thinks it's biased or not, the SEC has always been better.
Oh yeah, I just call it an SEC bias because I mean, really, the narrative is pushed in that direction for sure.
The Big Ten this year nationally have the top 4 defensive statistic teams. That's because their offenses are horrible in the Big Ten.
Well,
so no one's trying them. You know what I mean? So it's like when you come to Michigan, it's like Michigan's first quality win was against Ohio State.
But that's primarily the main reason why I'm such a big fan of this Washington team is because they ran the table in the Pac-12 that housed a lot of ranked teams and a lot of teams that were near statistically in the top of a lot of statistics in general. And it's primarily like when I take a look at the ACC, like the ACC literally had more teams with 7 or more wins than any other conference in football this year. But because they all beat up on each other outside of Florida State, and they all had like 7-5 records or 8-5 records,
everybody but Florida State 7-5,
right? That it was like, well, the ACC isn't as good. But then you take a look at the discrepancy between the top and the half. Pac-12 football this year was ranked number 2 in that situation. Like, Arizona was actually much better than people realized. Utah was solid. Oregon State was actually a surprise. Washington State, for a long period of time outside of that 3-game skid they had, was really good for a long period of time. And Washington kind of handled Oregon. Like, I think they played them twice and handled them both times. Well, the first game might have been closer, but the second time they kind of handled them. And
first game was a field goal.
I mean, they were both a 3-point loss.
Yeah, but the second game didn't feel as like Oregon was going to win. Like, it never felt like it was going to slip away from Washington. I guess maybe it was just me with the feeling being different, but it just didn't feel like Oregon was in that game. And Oregon had a very great team. Don't get me wrong. I mean, to me, Bo Nix was my Heisman. Him or Penix were really my Heisman, to be honest with you.
And that's what I was saying. Like, being in the whole situation with the Big Ten, SEC, the reason we lose is because the depth of a team like Bama and the depth of a team like Ohio State, depth of a team like Texas. Like, we lost to Auburn with Cam Newton. We got screwed out of that because Guy was down, but they didn't call him down, whatever. But then when we lost to Ohio State, team not as deep like Florida State, we blew them out the water. But we come back to Ohio State and we couldn't hang with them. Because of the depth. And that's why I think Washington will be good for like the first little bit, but once that depth starts to play a role, I just think they're going to overtake them.
I real quick, Justin. I'm Texas or Washington. Whoever wins that game is who I want to win the Natty. Those are because I like Quinn Ewers, I like Xavier Worthy. I like what Texas has done. I'm not necessarily a Texas Longhorn fan because I really don't give a damn about the team as a whole. Yeah, pretty much. But whoever wins that would be the one that I would cheer for. Just because I don't trust Michigan, and to be honest with you, I'm just not a Bama fan. Out of the 4 teams that are in there, I probably dislike Bama more. And this was before the whole Florida State thing this year. I've never really been a big fan of them because they produce players and they produce a great team. Nick Saban's a great coach, and maybe it's just because I'm tired of consistency with them, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, now if I'm choosing rooting allegiances, obviously I'd probably be rooting for Washington to win the whole thing. But no, when I just look X's and O's and look at who Texas has, I think this Washington-Texas game has a chance to be one of those track meet-ish type games for at least the first half.
The USC Oregon championship game type.
Yeah. And then come the second half, you start seeing the physicality of Texas's defense, and you see the physicality of their offense and where they can start slowing the game down a little bit. And then that's where you can maybe see a little bit of a pull away to like your maybe 34-24 when maybe it's 21-21 at halftime or 21-14 at half. It's something like that. Like, and in reality, it's probably going to be a higher scored game than 34-24. But I could see kind of like what AC was saying, where physicality and the depth of Texas or the depth of Alabama continue to dominate towards the later end of the game and pull away. Now, granted, Michigan probably still has that same depth because Michigan's Michigan. But I just go back and look at Michigan and say I don't trust their offense enough to be. I mean, you put up 10 points against Iowa. Yes, Iowa has a great defense. Not saying they don't. Iowa has a great defense. But if you can only put 10 points up on Iowa, then you've got a problem.
155 yards. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
speaking on that, man, like I really, I have Bama beating Michigan, but at the same time, I don't have it as some blowout. And
yeah,
I mean, Michigan's going to slow the game down.
Yeah, I like me personally, if I put a score in it, I'm thinking 24-20 Alabama. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's fair. I mean, I think the game will probably be the lower scoring of the two.
Yeah, I think, I mean, and I agree with that. I mean, I think if anything, it's probably the lower scoring game of the two, but then Bama pulls away at the end and makes it look convincing. I don't think it's like a 14-point game or whatever, but it's probably maybe a 10-point spread, 10-point game at the end of it, where I think Bama maybe pulls
It'll be
away.
that weird deeper than they always have like that weird deeper than you play. You know what I mean? Like later in the game, put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, the QB play in the Alabama game, I think, is what really just kind of tips me to the Alabama side.
Yeah,
but
JJ McCarthy's got a lot to prove.
Yeah,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and in these playoffs like this, man, this is where really it's just like NFL. Who's got the better quarterback? Well, that team usually wins.
Yeah, but I will say one thing too, though, is JJ McCarthy also has the experience factor compared to Jalen Milroe for this as well, because Milroe was not there last year as the starter. So there is definitely things that need to be done on both sides for sure. And I will say one last thing to close out real quick is if Washington studies the Oklahoma game against Texas, I think there's a huge exposure there to Texas, because that loss was probably the worst loss out of all the people between Bama and Texas. And if you study that game, I think Washington has a better team than Oklahoma, so that they can easily, I think, win that game if they study that and execute the way that I think that they're capable of doing. So, that's going to do it. It's been a 2-hour show, guys. Thank you for sticking with us. Again, shout out to everybody in the comments. Well, 1 hour for Shane, because Central and Eastern's hard. That's my fault, though. That's my bad on that one. So until next week, guys, have a good one. We'll be back at 8:15 Eastern next week. Oh, Justin, do you want to close out real quick on that whole subscribe, hit the like,
the 1 hour show for Shane. No, I mean, hey, if you liked all the great conversation, the arguments and the Chris hot takes and the quarterback list, all this other kind of fun stuff, if you like that, make sure you go smash the like button, go give Shady Sports Network a follow. There's a ton of great shows on this channel, constantly going from arena football all the way up to NFL and anything in between that you could even think of. There's something for you. So make sure you go smash that like button, hit the bell notification for notifications on any single video that'll ever come out on the channel. And then, like we always say, leave us questions, leave us comments. I know next week we may give some NFL predictions, maybe 2 weeks early, but go give us Q&As, anything that you want to know about us as players or us as coaches, or even just anything to talk about NFL things. We're here to talk about it, answer it. So with that being said, that's the Goal Line Stand for week 15. Check us out next week.
Merry Christmas, people.
Oh, yeah.